Sister called me a burden to our family after she stole my money to get out of a financial hole, so I forced her to return the money and filed a lawsuit against her. Family dinners at my parents' house were always a chaotic mix of opinion slaughter and the occasional tension that Sunday. The air felt heavier than usual, but I chalked it up to nothing more than my own discomfort. My sister Jessica sat across the table uncharacteristically, quiet, her boyfriend Kyle by her side. Jessica had always been the more outspoken one, so her subdued demeanor was a rare sight. I noticed that she'd recently gotten a new phone, top of the line, better than anything I could afford. It struck me as odd, since she'd been complaining about financial difficulties just a few weeks ago. I had no idea that this dinner would turn into a public spectacle. We were halfway through the meal when Kyle, oblivious to the undercurrents, casually asked, "Hey Hassan, you unseen Jessica's old cell phone? She won't shut up about this new one." Unforgettable. Fell silent. Forks floating in there. Jessica looked up, her face instantly flushed. I felt my stomach twist. Instinct. I guess she laughed a little too, casually, and said, "Oh yeah, it's gone. I got rid of it, had to upgrade. You know?" Mom raised an eyebrow. "Thought you were broke." Jessica shrugged. "It's taken care of now. Things are better. C wasn't done. Wait, wasn't it? Just last week that you said you were drowning in debt. What changed?" Jessica's face hardened. She looked right at me and said, "Well, I found a solution." It took me a second to process the sharpness of her tone. "What does that mean?" I asked, feeling a knot form in my chest. She smiled like it was all a joke. "I mean, you didn't use some money in your savings account, did you? That car you're saving for can wait. The room froze. My money, my savings, 115. I worked overtime for every penny of it, earmarked for my dream car. What are you talking about?" I demanded. My voice wasn't loud, but I could feel the tension radiating from me. Jessica rolled here. Yes, as if I was the unreasonable one. "Look, it's not a big deal. I took care of it. You should have helped me when I asked, but no, you couldn't spare anything. So I borrowed it. Call it family redistribution or whatever. You'll survive." I could barely think. Mom gasped, and Dad mumbled something under his breath. Kyle looked horrified, like he wanted to sink into his chair. I stared at Jessica, trying to comprehend her audacity. "You stole $155 from me and you think it's no big deal?" She didn't even flinch. "You're always whining about how hard you work, but you don't even contribute to the family. You're just a burden." The words hit me like a slap, but the anger boiling inside me kept me calm. I wasn't going to let her get away with this. Not this time. And that's how it all started. The room erupted into chaos. My mom started screaming. My dad demanded that Jessica explain herself, and Kyle just stared at this plate, probably wishing he was somewhere else. Meanwhile, I sat there, fists clenched, staring at Jessica like I didn't even know who she was. She didn't even look sorry, if anything. She looked annoyed, like we were making too big a deal out of her stealing 15 grand. I could feel my blood boiling, but I kept my voice calm when I spoke again. "You stole my money to pay off your debts and buy a new phone, seriously?" Jessica shrugged like it was obvious. "Yeah, I had bills piled up. You don't understand the pressure I was under. And by the way, I've done more for this family than you ever did." That was it. I stood up so fast. My chair scraped the floor loudly. "I can't believe you're trying to justify this. You're crazy if you think I'm just gonna let this go." She crossed her arms. "What are you going to do? Cry about it, Sui?" Everyone fell silent again. Jessica smiled, but I could see a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. She didn't think I was actually going to do anything. It turned to my parents. "You knew about this." My mom looked horrified, of course. "Not Jessica?" "How could you?" Jessica scoffed. "Oh, don't act so shocked, Mom. He's always complaining about how much he's saving, like it's some great accomplishment. I just used it for something important." My father stood up and pointed at her. "Important, a new phone is important, Jessica. That's stealing." She rolled her. "Yes, again, fine, whatever. I'll pay him back." I laughed bitterly. "With what you were broke a week ago." "Jess, do you even have a plan, or are you just going to wait for me to save up again and take that too?" Jessica didn't answer. She just looked away, and for a moment I thought I saw guilt flicker across her face, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by the same arrogant smirk. Kyle, who hadn't said a word during the whole thing, finally spoke up. Maybe we should go. This is getting kind of intense." Jessica grabbed her purse. "Yeah, good idea. This whole thing is ridiculous." She turned to me as she got up. "You're so dramatic. I'll get you your money. Eventually, Okay, chill out before I could say another word. She and C walked out the front door slammed, and I was left standing there seething. My mom tried to calm me down, saying that Jessica would come to her senses, but I wasn't buying it. She'd stolen from me, humiliated me, and then had the nerve to call me a burden if she thought I was going to let that go. She was dead wrong. I made a decision that night. I wasn't going to wait for Jessica to come to her senses. I was going to get my money back one way or another, even if it meant taking her to court. I spent the entire night seething. Sleep wasn't an option. My mind kept circling back to Jessica's smug face, her casual admission, and the way she brushed it all off. Like I was the unreasonable one. By morning, I'd made up my mind if Jessica was going to pretend that stealing wasn't a big deal. I was going to make it one. The first thing I did was go through my bank accounts. Sure enough, 115. Our zero was gone. The transfer wasn't even subtle. It had gone straight into Jessica's account. She didn't even try to hide it. I saved screenshots of everything and started making a list of expenses tied to them, any car payments. I couldn't make bills. I had to juggle the savings goal I'd been working toward for months next. I called her hello. She answered, her tone casual, as if nothing had happened. We need to talk. I said, now. Now what? She groaned. I didn't bother with pleasantries. You have two choices. Either you return every cent of my money today, or I'll take legal action. Your choice. She laughed, really laughed. Oh, come on. You can't be serious. You're not going to sue your own sister. Do you know how ridiculous that sounds? I'm dead serious. Jess, you have until the end of the day. After that, I'm filing a police report. Her tone became sharp. You're being dramatic. It's not like you're starving or homeless. You'll survive without a car for a while. Stop acting like this is the end of the world. I felt my anger rise again. It's not just about the money. It's about the fact that you stole from me and you don't even care. You think you're entitled to everything I worked for, just because we're family. That's not how it works. Well, guess what? I don't have them money anymore. She snapped. What do you want me to do? Pull it out of thin air? It's gone. Deal with it. I hung up before. I said something I'd regret. That afternoon, I went to my parents' house. Mom answered the door looking tired. Please, tell me. You didn't come here to fight. She said, I'm here to tell you I'm pressing charges. I replied. Mom's face fell. Pressing charges against your sister? Are you sure you want to do that? She made a mistake. But she didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. Interrupted. She's not sorry, and she has no intention of paying me back if I let her get away with it once. What's to stop her from doing it again? My dad joined us in the living room and shook his head. I can't believe she would do such a thing, but maybe we can figure out a way to fix this without the police getting involved. I've already given her a chance, I said. She doesn't care. She thinks she's untouchable. Maybe this will wake her up. Mom started to say something else, but I cut her off. Look, I didn't come here to argue. I just thought you should know. Before it happens, that night I went to the police station and filed a report. As much as it hurt to take that step, I knew it was the right thing to do. Jessica had crossed the line, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, phone calls, and awkward conversations with family members who thought I was being too harsh. But I didn't care. Jessica had made her decision. Now it was time for her to face the consequences. Word spread quickly through the family, and the backlash began. Almost immediately, my phone was bombarded with calls and text. Some siding with me, others begging me to reconsider. Mom called first. I talked to Jessica. She's mad, but I think she understands that you're serious. Now she said she'll try to come up with them. Honey, she can tell the judge that. I replied. Mom sighed. Are you really going to take it that far? She's your sister. She's not acting like one. I said. Next up was my aunt, who had always been the unofficial family peacemaker. Honey, don't you think there's a better way to handle this? After all, family is all we've got. She stole $15,000 from me, and Lisa, if she wasn't family, no one would even question it. Why should she get a pass? Just because we shared DNA. Jessica, of course, had her own take on things. She started texting me not to apologize, but to shift the blame. You're such a hypocrite. You act like you're so perfect, but you're willing to ruin my life for money. Wow, suing your own sister. I guess blood doesn't mean anything to you. You're pathetic. Her boyfriend, Kyle, also chimed in. Hey man, I get that you're upset, but this is going too far. Jessica's under a lot of stress right now. Can't you cut her some slack? Ignored him. Kyle clearly didn't understand the gravity of the situation, or didn't care. A few days later, Jessica made her boldest move, yet she showed up, at my apartment. "What do you want?" I asked. Standing in the doorway, she crossed her arms. "I'm here to fix this. Let's talk like adults instead of you running to the cops." I let her in, keeping my distance. She flopped down on my couch like she owned the place and started her pitch. "Look, I know I messed up, but you have to drop this lawsuit. It'll destroy the family?" "No, you destroyed the family when you stole from me." I shot back. "The only way this ends is if you pay me back all of it." She laughed bitterly. "Do you even hear yourself? You act like a saint. When all you do is complain about Howard, your life is you don't even contribute to the family. You're just a taker. That was the last straw. Get out," I said, pointing to the door. "What, get out of my apartment now?" She stormed out, muttering under her breath, but I didn't care. Her words hurt, sure, but they only reinforced my decision. I wasn't going to back down, no matter how much pressure she or anyone else put on me. The legal process moved quickly after that. I gave the police all the evidence, bank statements, texts, and the timeline of her theft. They took it seriously, especially considering the amount of money involved. Within a week, Jessica was officially charged with theft. The look on her face when she was served the paperwork was priceless. Or so I heard from Kyle, who called me to beg me to reconsider. "She's looking at real jail time, man. Is that what you want?" I didn't answer him directly. Maybe she should have thought about that before she stole from me. For the first time, it felt like Jessica was finally realizing that her actions had consequences, and I wasn't going to stop until I got back what was mine. Just Jessica's arrogance carried over to the courtroom. She pleaded not guilty, claiming the situation was just a family misunderstanding. Her lawyer argued that she had intended to pay me back. But the evidence was incontrovertible. My lawyer presented the bank record showing the transfer of $115,000 from my account to hers, and included texts in which she admitted to taking the money. The judge wasn't sympathetic when Jessica finally spoke. She tried to portray herself as desperate, claiming that she didn't think it would hurt me this much. It sounded more like an excuse than an apology.